If you came to prove, there's no reason to prove.
All right. So I am in the Washington DC office for a flash. This week we're going to talk about rotations and the opportunity to go and do something different with your career within a larger organization. At PwC, we have a rotation program where we take people from different offices and they come to Washington DC for a couple of years. And so we're going to talk to a few of those rotators to understand why they went, what their experiences were, and what advice they have for somebody who's thinking about doing something similar. So let's get this week going and talk to some of our rotators, shall we?
And now you've got yourself something funky.
All right. I spent 2 hours on the tarmac. They drove us back to the gate. We spent 45 minutes back in the terminal and then put us back on the plane, and we sat an hour on the tarmac. So I'm going to get some sleep. I'm in New York City. I've got some meetings, some internal meetings. I'm meeting with our entire New York international tax practice over the next few days, and I'm really excited about it. This is a great group of people and some great leadership. I mean, from top all the way down. And we're going to learn a little bit about that business. We're going to share a little bit of my strategic vision with their teams, and it's going to be a good couple of days. All right, so I'm with Coach Benyon. Did I pronounce that appropriately?
That's right.
All right. Coach is a director here doing a rotation in our Washington National Tax Services office from San Jose. What advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about doing a rotation?
Looking back at my experience, right, personally, I really don't see any downside. So I would say you should jump at the opportunity, right? If this is something you think you want to do, of course, again, you have to talk through with your coaches and your buddies, et cetera, and your partners. But this has been, to me anyway, a positive experience, sort of from top to bottom. So I would say jump at that opportunity if you can.
But any practical tips that you would give somebody who's just starting, or even for the next coach that's going to come and replace you?
Go into the process with a pretty open mind, and you're not gonna know a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Just because of the folks in DC kind of,
it's a different level.
It's a different level, right? So you're definitely not gonna know a lot, but you shouldn't be intimidated by that, right? Mm-hmm. Just be a sponge. Be willing to, get to. It's more about the process as opposed to like the coming up with the right answer right away, right? Mm-hmm. So like a lot of times folks get like either intimidated or discouraged that they may not know like all this stuff, but that does come with time,
right?
So I would say go in with an open mind. Don't limit yourself to just like the things you had been doing in your practice office, because there's such a wide variety of different like specialties and areas that people do here that you may find interesting. You won't get to do that if you kind of limit yourself. So I would say go in with the open mind and be a sponge, and of course, networking is always sort of huge.
All right, so heading to our New York office. I've got my big commute of a half a block from my hotel. First meeting all of the international tax partners in New York. Partner meeting, check. Now heading to a director meeting. here with Bobby Gardner now. Bobby is a manager in our International Tax Services practice in WNTS. And you're originally from our Atlanta office. What inspired you to do a rotation originally?
So I always loved Washington DC, and I wanted to move to Washington DC. But unlike Coach, I wasn't doing international tax back in Atlanta. I loved the people I worked for in Atlanta. I liked the work, but what I was really looking to do was repurpose myself. And I think everybody in some point in their career has to repurpose, whether it be through a mandatory repurpose as a layoff or a change in leadership kind of changes your role within the organization. I was trying to repurpose and kind of take that next step in tax, and I chose to do that in international tax.
How did you repurpose yourself? Like, how did you get caught up on this stuff?
But I spend an incredible amount of time outside of work reading articles. And the more articles I read and the more I see the practical aspects of policy and certain provisions, the more acquainted you get with them. And you may not have specific takeaways from every article that you read, but you'll be able to pick something up. Somebody will mention a code provision and you can say, oh yeah, I've heard of that. That was addressed in this article.
Whatever area you're into, whether you're a tax lawyer or whatever, you just gotta put in the time.
Yeah, there's no shortcut to success.
There's no shortcut to success. We'll leave it on that. Thanks,
right.
Bobby.
Good to see you.
All right. In Bryant Park in New York City. In 2004, I had the opportunity to do my own form of rotation at PwC's Genesis Park program. Genesis Park is our leadership development program, and for those that have watched the vlog have heard me talk about it with Kirsten Nordliff, who's the VP of Tax at Autodesk. Kirsten participated in the Genesis Park program a couple years after I did. I had the opportunity to go live in Washington, DC for 5 months. I was on a team of 10 people from throughout the world. It was such a neat experience for me to be able to leave St. Louis at that point in my career. I was a manager. I was about a 5 or 6 year person when I did the program. First of all, to have the opportunity to live in a different city outside of my comfort zone, and we lived in Bethesda and we worked in Washington, DC. To be able to meet people from all over the world was really just a great experience. To be able to broaden professional networks and professional relationships. I learned a lot about myself personally. It was also at a time where my dad was sick, and I developed this support network that I had never had before with my team from Genesis Park. So for me, a rotation or an opportunity within a big organization to try something new for 5 months was really a profound and awesome experience for me. I would highly encourage others that have the opportunity to do something similar. And if you're a college student, consider studying abroad. Consider doing something outside WOTE, because I think it's just an awesome opportunity and experience.